Hello and welcome to another edition of Question Everything. This episode, we're going to be looking at Impact Wrestling and more specifically the sale of Impact Wrestling, how it's impacted, no pun intended, the business and where they're going to go from here. So, just to catch those who have not been in the news for Impact Wrestling, what's going on is Anthem Sports and Entertainment Corporation have recently purchased Impact Wrestling away from Dixie Carter. Dixie Carter is still going to be a minority equity stakeholder, but she is no longer the, I guess, president of TNA or Impact Wrestling, as you have it. The president is now under the name of Ed Nordholm. Ed Nordholm. As I get my facts together, Ed Nordholm is the vice president of Anthem Sports and Entertainment, and he has a background in investment and corporate finance, more specifically mergers. So it was very interesting. I believe he's been working with Impact Wrestling since about October of last year, as they have taken more investments in the company. Initially, we saw them get involved with the Fight Network. Fight Network is a Canadian-based sports programming station that shows a lot of MMA and TNA, or Impact Wrestling as we say it. And so they got involved. We know that there was a little bit of a funny situation with Billy Corgan, who was looking to purchase the company. They backed out. And Dixie, who is still a minority sports owner in the Fight Network, I guess, and Impact Wrestling, is able to hang on and not get completely pushed out the door. So let's take a look at the moves that were made. We just had our very first show for Impact Wrestling since this whole news and debacle went down. So basically, is this going to be a good move for professional wrestling? We knew that with Billy Corgan, we might be getting something totally different. Maybe that's what Impact Wrestling needs. Let's take a look at history. History is a great teacher, right? So the easiest thing to compare Impact Wrestling to is WCW. WCW had multiple different people in charge of the booking, from Wooly Anderson to Dusty Rhodes, Bill Watts. I mean, there's a lot of different people on creative. Jim Herd and Kip Frey were some of the bigger figures in there until Eric Bischoff got in, and then power got sent over to Vince Russo. So why are we comparing WCW? WCW had its great heights and its low levels, and it's been around. It was only around for 13 years before final sale. Impact Wrestling started in 2004 through 2017, 13 years. Also has had Jeff Jarrett, Dixie Carter, Eric Bischoff, and Vince Russo. So they've had similar, panic attacks where so many different people are in charge and involved with creative and who's running what. So Impact Wrestling has a lot of parallels with WCW, who had its peak and then crashed, and now we're seeing a lot of hands in the pot. And maybe Anthem Sports will be the unity that can get this ship on right. So let's take a look at that. First, the big moves, the first show, not a lot of change. Okay, so we have what their big move is. Your first question is Anthem Sports. We've got a lawyer, a guy who's familiar with mergers, running the company. That sounds very scary. So who's the wrestling mind that's going to be taking over and helping this out? Well, apparently that's Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett we're seeing reports, has been brought in as an advisory role. He's still got his Global Wrestling Federation, or whatever you want to call that, up and running. So we will see. That's obviously a conflict of interest in some respects. He's trying to get his brand. There's been speculation that that's going to get a TV deal, or the pilots that he's taped, some time ago, might get a deal. So will that end up on maybe Canadians Fight Network? That's also, will they work a deal? You can't have two shows on Pop TV, can you, that are professional wrestling on two different. So will we see the global wrestling infused into Impact Wrestling? Lots of questions there. I don't know how that relationship will work out, but at least they have a veteran in the wrestling business on board, for better or for worse, depending on your views on Jeff Jarrett and his how he handled Impact Wrestling previously. He did bring on, it appears from the Pro Wrestling Sheet has leaked photos of him along with Dutch Mantell at the very first Impact Wrestling taping of the year. Dutch Mantell, if you're not familiar, he was with Impact Wrestling from 2003 to about 2009. 2009, if you remember, was the peak time for Impact Wrestling in many viewers' opinion. That was the time that the knockouts were on fire. I believe Dutch Mantell is credited for bringing in Awesome Kong, who, along with Gail Kim, took that division and lit it on fire. In 2009, they were getting peak numbers, and that's what drew Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff in the door, and we all know how that turned out. So Jeff Jarrett and Dutch Mantell brought back into the fold. Can they return them to glory? We got to wait and see. So the first show, I don't know if that's the question. We've seen the first show. How much influence and direction did Dutch and Jeff have into that first show? There's two approaches coming into that show. We didn't know what we were going to get. Were they going to go the Vince Russo route, blow the entire company up? All the titles are back on the line. We're rebooting, rebranding. No, that didn't happen. Eddie Edwards was the champ. He came in the champ. Dave Lagana, I guess creative, who was with the company at some point, was a major fan of Eddie Edwards, and he is now in position still with that world title. Questions, should that, he's not that great on the mic, he's okay in the ring. Question is, if you're going to make a statement, maybe it would have been a great time to put that strap back onto Bobby Lashley, who has that credibility as a champion. He has probably a bigger name probably bigger name value than Eddie Edwards by far. He's in Bellator. He's formerly, more importantly, from the WWE, and that may have been the move. Didn't happen. So with the new regime in, it's early, but we didn't see any moves. So that's a positive in the fact that they didn't blow everything up and panic and scramble. We'll give them time to make the change. The other thing is a little bit confusing with the branding. So the roster is okay. We just don't know. They didn't make any changes, or at least it didn't seem like they didn't make any changes, because all the storylines continued. And that is okay with me. You don't have to blow everything up, but we should start see those changes going forward with the influence of Jeff Jarrett and Dutch Mantell. Now, branding, on the other hand, is another thing. They announced from the top of the show, this is the new year. The product is now being brought to you by Anthem Sports Entertainment. We often saw the logo, that weird owl, bird, eagle, hawk thing that they have with the A for Anthem. It is now on the middle turnbuckle. We've seen shots of it on their version of the Titantron, the big screen, whatever you want to call it. So I understand that they're brought by them, but it's kind of weird that they've been pushed to the forefront in that, this is presented by Anthem Sports. And I say that because it can get a little confusing. When WWE was forced to make that transition from WWF, we had that huge ad campaign, get the F out, and that let everybody know, hey, we're moving from being called WWF to WWE. We never really got that when they transitioned from TNA to Impact Wrestling. For a good little while, they were calling themselves Impact Wrestling, but they didn't even move to a vanity URL. The URL, if you wanted to go to the website, was still TNAWrestling.com. And so the transition was confusing. It took a very long time. I myself still say TNA. When I look at news sites, they still list it as TNA or TNA Impact Wrestling. So they have the branding was not strong enough to push TNA out of Impact Wrestling. And now you are adding another name, another tagline, Anthem Sports, and a logo with a mascot. So that is not being handled very well. Why do we? Okay, it's okay for us to let us know that we have new ownership, because that lets us know that maybe there's some change coming and something to expect. But you've got to be able to separate that. I haven't seen a real reason for them to be brought into the everyday process of Impact Wrestling, instead of just being owned and in the shadows. You can make your presence known, so you can do press releases, stuff like that, so that we know that you purchased it. But I don't know that it needs to be presented on television with the bird on the turnbuckle. It seems we've got way too many things, because Anthem Sports also owns a variety of other brands. We've already talked about the Fight Network, but they also own fantasy sports and outdoor channels and things of that nature. So it is not as if Anthem is all in on Impact Wrestling to the degree that we should be associating. When we think of Impact Wrestling, we should think of Anthem. Let's separate. And my other thing is, with the change, please, God, please change your because right now the website has zero purpose for me. There's no reason to go to it. It's responsive. Look like that was the design, but so that means you can shrink it. You can view it on tablet. You can view it on a phone. You can view it on a computer. So, but that's the only thing. What's the purpose of the website? When we go to comparatively.www.com, they have all kinds of different goals, but it gives you a reason to go. You can go there to see results. You can go there to, of course, purchase gear and shirt. You can go there to see fantasy matchups, like who's going to be taking on the top 10 opponents for The Undertaker. So it gives you some entertainment. It progresses storylines. It does a good job of displaying social media. So it kind of hits all the key parts of all the key different parts that a website should to capture you. You go to Impact Wrestling. All right, you've got your roster, and you've got Shop TNA. I know for a good little while, TNA could be considered like the kings of merch back when Don West was hawking the merchandise. And I want to lie and say, listening to Bruce Pritchard's podcast, that a lot of times the merch numbers would outsell the house. That may or may not be true. You have to go to Bruce Pritchard's podcast and when they spoke on TNA, but also it's not. You got Impact highlights that's not even up to date. The last highlight was November 30th. Come on, really? You're not even maintaining your website. It tells you the channels that you can find it. That's good, because Pop TV is not the most relevant station on the planet. And they got social media, but it's done in a way that you have to go and see it. It's a quilts layout, meaning there's pictures here, and but it doesn't show. It doesn't show you. It's coming from Instagram, it looks like, and these are a couple days old, so it's not up to date. 2-3 days. I mean, social media is bam, bam, bam. Give it to me now. So they should have a feed going. So this is their official Impact. So unlike the WWE's, where it shows you their stars and promotes their wrestlers, it's only in the feed of Impact Wrestling's Instagram, which isn't up to date. Again, you gotta be all in. So there's no real. They have old videos. They have old Instagram. They're not they're not furthering any storylines. They're not giving you any reason to come and check out their website at all. And then they've got Shop TNA, a link to Shop TNA, which is gets you off of their site and puts you onto another one of their sites. So which sells the merchandise. So they've got some changes. So Anthem, this is what we can hope to look forward to Anthem Sports. We'll go in reverse. You got to clean up that website. Give us a reason. You got to work on your marketing. Give us a reason to come back to the site, to continue to invest in your characters and your brand. The roster. They have a solid roster. Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy is rocking it right now. They're for some. Through our radio show, we know this to be true. For some, they're the only reason that they tune in. For others, they only catch them on social media. But they have a good roster. They've got EC3, who was a major mistake by the WWE to let go. Miracle Mike Bennett and Maria are a awesome combination. They've kind of lost their way, I think, a little bit, although we know Maria's still in the forefront, but those as a pair in and out. Bobby Lashley definitely should be holding their world title right now. They should put they should put the company on his back and just let him go right now, to be honest. So we're waiting to see what brand changes in the roster on air from Jeff Jarrett and Dutch Mantel. They're not going to blow it up overnight, which is good. I commend them for that. Stability is what we need, but we do need to see change. Okay, so that's a major issue. And the question is, will TNA scratch that Impact Wrestling be able to make it through the unlucky 13, surpass WCW, right? They never hit the heights of WCW. They haven't really formally been considered a close number 2 to WWE. They've been the number 2 alternative because ROH never got it together. We thought they would. Then they left HDNet. we thought Sinclair would be that vaulting, and it just was not to be. And no other promotion was able to step up. Impact Wrestling, we hope with the backing of Anthem, we'll have the focus, because remember, Ed has he's been doing, he was very successful at merging companies and then branching them off from there on. So let's see if he can get them focused, get the right people in place for something to happen. So until then, we'll be questioning everything and just really keeping an eye on this, and hopefully in the next 2-3 months we see a big change out of Impact Wrestling. Until then, you can follow us at Hit the Ropes on Twitter and Facebook, and of course here on YouTube. And I'll make sure you tune into our show each and every Wednesday at 9 p.m. HitTheRopesRadio.com is our website. We thank you for your time, and guys, have a great rest of your weekend.